In 1984, there was a serial killer, and his name was
Dean Anderson.
Curtis Dean Anderson. In 1984, that was before I was born. So he had been killing, kidnapping, and raping children as young as 7 all the way into their 20s. And I remember being 8 or 9 years old and watching Ziana Fairchild, is that how you say her name?
In December 1999, 7-year-old Ziana Fairchild disappeared from her home in Vallejo. Nobody knew it at the time, but Ziana had already been murdered by a local taxi driver named Curtis Dean Anderson, who had also kidnapped and killed 7-year-old Amber Schwartz from Pinole and would later claim to have killed 13 other girls.
Is there anybody that's more of a dangerous society than someone like that?
And I thought to myself, like, wow, that's so close from home. It could have been me, and she was 7. And so in 2000, he got caught. And this is the story.
So August 10th of 2000, I was on my way home from school. I attended Highland Elementary School, and I was in the 3rd grade. And it was the day of my 8th birthday party. And so I usually would walk home with my brother from school to the house, but this day I left him. I was in a rush to get home for the birthday party, and so I took off on the 6-block walk home. And it was when I got to the very last block of almost home, I noticed a man sitting in his car, and he made eye contact with me through the rearview mirror, which was it just gave me one of those gut-wrenching feelings, like, why is he parked here? Although I had that gut instinct, that inside voice that was telling me to cross the street, I did not. And so I kept walking, and he finally approached me. And he said, hey, I broke my hip in a bike accident. Will you help me? I can't bend over. Can you grab the duct tape that's at the floorboard of my car? And, because of Ziana missing, my mom always said, don't go with strangers. Don't talk to strangers. If they try to get you in their car, don't go with them. But she also said things like, be kind, be helpful. And so I wanted to help him. He seemed to be, genuine about his injury, and I thought he didn't have the mobility to bend over, but of course, as a child, we can be naive, and I agreed to help him. And as I leaned over and to grab the duct tape for him, that was the moment that he put his whole entire body weight over me, covered my mouth with his hands, and threw me in his car. I was almost home, so as he drove off in the opposite direction of my house, I could see my house, and I wanted to be there so bad. It was just like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm in this man's car. He just tricked me and threw me into his car that quick. And I could see my home, and he's driving away. And that was just one of the most desperate feelings I have ever felt in my life.
Did you say anything to him? Like,
I said,
who are you? Where are we going?
Yes, I said, why did you do this? Why did you take me? And his response was, well, somebody did it to me when I was little. So in my 8-year-old thought process, I'm thinking, am I going to do this to someone when I grow up? And that was just how my little 8-year-old brain was thinking. I didn't understand it. And so he drives to a nearby parking lot. He made me change my clothes. He made me drink alcohol. He got out to smoke a cigarette to give me my privacy while I changed, but I'm sure he was just watching his back to make sure that no one noticed him putting me into his car.
And did you change clothes because you were scared he was going to kill you? Because this is like a stranger. You didn't know like what was the outcome if you would have told him, no, I'm not changing these clothes?
I didn't think he was going to kill me yet. I didn't have that thought yet, but I was scared. Like, he pumped this fear into me that made me like, okay, sure, whatever you say. It was the fear. And so as that happened, he drove off again. We got onto the 80 freeway coming towards Fairfield, and at American Canyon Road exit, and he made a U-turn right back onto the freeway, and the rest stop was where he had made his first stop. So the first stop, we were there for pretty much the rest of the day. By this time, my world was like literally spinning. I could feel the effects of the alcohol starting to hit my body, and I was drunk. I was intoxicated, and I'd never felt that feeling before.
Yeah.
I knew what alcohol was, but I never knew how it made me feel. And that first night was it was spent at the rest area. And in the rest area, he had the windows covered up. He had them covered up with blankets and sun visors and towels so nobody could see inside of the car. And the first night was when he molested me and had me chained up to the gear shift. And I wasn't even sure if my family was looking for me yet, because I thought, well, nobody saw, nobody heard, nobody has come to help me yet, so my family doesn't even know that I'm gone or what's really happening to me. But by this time, they had already called the police. They already had FBI at our home, and they were already doing active searches.
So you're probably all over the news at this time too, like that they were looking for you.
Yes, but I had no clue. I wasn't sure. And I even noticed a police officer drive by, and just through like this little tiny crack of the window where the towel was, and I noticed the cop drive by, and I thought for 1 second that they were gonna save me. That didn't happen.
Right. I know this is so hard, but how did it feel when he did abuse you? You know, it's like here you are kidnapped in a car. You said he had you chained by your ankle to the gear shift, and now he's touching you. It's like...
It was definitely like a feeling of disgust. It was like all of my confidence and self-worth as an 8-year-old went out the window. I was like really spunky. I was like a sassy kid, and I just had like a great personality. And that moment made me feel like this little.
Did he tell you like, don't scream, or did he say like, let me do whatever I want to? Like, was he aggressive, like force?
No, he was never aggressive. He never was violent. He was like real mellow. Like if he was hanging out with like a female friend, that was his persona. Like, okay, I don't want to do this, but he's forcing me to do it, and I don't have a choice to say no.
Yeah, you're 8. It's a grown man who overpowered you.
Well, he didn't let me say no. He made me do these things. You know, and I just said earlier, when you get into a situation like this, when you're being abused or attacked or anything of that sort, either you take flight or you freeze. And in that moment, I froze. So it was just one of those, like, okay, I have to brace for this.
How was the second day?
The second day, it was hot. It was summer. I'm covered up with a blanket on the floorboard of the car, still chained up. We're still driving around Vallejo. He said, if you ever try to escape, I have the gun in my trunk and I will shoot you. I believed him, and so I obeyed him. We ended up later I found out we ended up in Santa Clara, which is, an hour and a half from Barlow, and I didn't know it then, but I just knew I was really far, far away from home. And being that far in this strange land, still with the same man, at this point he's allowing me to sit up in the seat.
And sit up from underneath the blanket?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm seeing cars drive by, we're on the freeway, we're on public roads, and I'm trying to make eye contact with people, and no one's looking at me. I'm like, don't you know that there's a missing child? But everybody that's out doing their daily routine, they're not looking for a missing kid.
Right.
They don't even think it's possible for them to come across me or any child that's missing. We've got the Amber Alerts that are so helpful in these cases, but you just don't think that could happen to you. It's like one of those rarities.
Yeah.
You know, I never stopped trying to find a way out. I was very persistent the first day, the second day, and then finally, the third day. It was the longest 3 days of my life.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
The longest, most dreadful. And he even shared, I mentioned I didn't know if my family was looking for me, and he shared a newspaper article with me and had my face on it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. It was weird for me to see myself in the paper.
Did it give you hope, though? Like, they're looking for me.
I was like, they probably don't even know where I'm at or what's going on. I was hopeless.
Right.
At that point, I was hopeless. The second night was the time that he finally raped and abused me. And I just remember sitting in the car. He's passed out drunk, and I'm looking up at the sky. The stars are out. You know, when you just get those lit up skies with all the stars. It was one of those nights, and just remember praying, and that was like my escape. The sky. That was like the most beautiful thing to me that night was, you know, after all the stuff that I had been seeing and being exposed to in the last 2 days, that was my escape. And it just, you know, made me feel this much better. But day 3, early in the morning, I'd say maybe about 10 o'clock, he would go into his old place of work, which was in an industrial area in Santa Clara, and he would go and watch my family on the news. He wanted to stay up to date, I guess. And I sat in the driver's seat of his car, still chained up, windows covered, and I prayed. Not for God to save me, but I was just praying, and I didn't ask to be saved, but I knew I was gonna die. I just knew it. And within 10 to 15 minutes, he came and leaned over me through the passenger seat, and he said, "Don't look there, I'm leaving something here." So as he left and shut the door, I quickly went to see what it was that he left by the driver's seat, and it was a ring of keys. These were the keys that I needed to unlock the chain that was around my ankle.
So just like every scary movie, when somebody runs to the door that's chained up and they find keys, it's a key ring that has 50 keys on it. So now you have to pick which key it is to unlock yourself.
Isn't that crazy? Yes, it is. And, you know, I found the right key. I unlocked the chain that was around my ankle, but I was afraid. Because remember, he said, "I'm going to kill you if you try to escape." And I believed that, and I had that in the back of my mind. And so I locked the chain back up after it had opened.
Wow.
Yes. And I just said, forget it. I unlocked it. I dropped the chain and lock on the floor and rolled down the window. Jumped out of the window. Almost fell to the floor because I was so dehydrated. I hadn't eaten or slept.
Did he feed you? And
he gave me one bite of his canned beef stew that he picked up, and that was the most gross food ever. I like home cooked meals, and I won't ever touch that stuff. But I hadn't hardly anything, and so my knees buckled and almost hit the floor. I finally walked away from his car towards the street, and he saw me. So he's like yelling at me, "Come back here." And I'm like, "No, I ain't coming back." And cars drove by me. A truck driver came up. A big 18-wheeler pulled up, and I got desperate because I had seen him coming after me. And I just jumped in front of this 18-wheeler, and he had no choice but to stop.
Slam on his brakes.
Yes. I jumped in up to his window, and I said, "I'm Midsi Sanchez. I've been kidnapped. I'm from Barlow." And the kidnapper got into his car, drove off, and the truck driver got on his CB radio and took the guy's license plate number down. And he was arrested later that day.
Yeah, I read that he was arrested within like 3 hours of that. That's amazing.
Yes, it was. They definitely did their job in taking him out, and he was sentenced to 251 years. He died at Corcoran State Penitentiary after serving 8 years. I felt like he got off a little too easy with that, but he's dead.
Yeah.
And he can't hurt anybody else.
Right. That's just so amazing. Oh my gosh, just because you have an 8-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
I have an 8-year-old daughter. You teach kids about their body and to not talk to strangers so that they don't get kidnapped. but then you don't teach them about what to do if they do get kidnapped. Do you teach your children to look for that way out, to fight, to look for that escape route?
Well, how would you know if you haven't been in a situation like that?
Right.
Or if you don't have a friend like me who can tell your kids.
Right.
But that's why I share my story so much, because I think it can give a lot of people insight. First of all, to be persistent in trying to escape, looking for the right time. And, you know, I had a friend who was abducted, and this girl was so smart. She was 9. Her name is Jeanette Tamayo, and she gathered clues when she was with her kidnapper. There was like a bloody shirt. He made her order pizza. She memorized the phone number. There was blood on the pizza box. Like, she kept all these things with her, and she was able to track him down.
Wow. She escaped also?
She escaped.
Wow.
She escaped, and now she's in law enforcement.
Wow. Wow. So does your 8-year-old daughter know what happened to you?
Yes.
And how do you educate her? What kind of advice do you give her, just, you know, based off of what happened to you?
Definitely, of course, like the stranger danger thing off top, but also, you know, to just be aware of when your gut is telling you that something is not right. You have to listen to your gut, your that inside voice that's telling you that something's not right, because that could save your life.
Yeah.
Never ignore it. Don't do what I did, because my gut was telling me to cross the street, and I didn't. It was like, you have to go with your first instinct, and just never ever ignore that gut instinct that's telling you something isn't right, because it could change or save you from something really bad that could happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
So after the truck driver got you, you went to the hospital probably, and then your parents came. How emotional was that?
That was like the best feeling, to see my mom again, my dad, just to be with them, like in their arms. That was the best. It was like, I'm safe. I'm home now. Even though I wasn't at my home, I was with my parents, and they were my safe place.
Right, and you guys better pick me up from school every day, because I ain't walking home no more.
Yeah, and you know they did.
I know they did.
They did.
How do you think what happened to you affected the rest of your life?
It was a mess for a very long time, and it was hard. That's just like an understatement, but it was rough to try to pick up the pieces and to try to be normal again. Everybody knew my story, so it was a little different from other people who've been abused, because everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew that I was kidnapped. They knew certain details, and it was a nationwide story, so everybody knew who Midsi Sanchez was, and that made it really hard for me to be in school, to go to school with kids, to be on the soccer team. Like, everybody was always pointing and talking, and that was tough. It turned into being bullied, and then being bullied turned me into a bully, and it made me angry. And eventually, as a teenager, I got into drugs and alcohol, and I probably lost like 4 years of my life being lost in that turmoil. And it wasn't until I had my daughter at the age of 16 that my heart started to change, and she taught me how to love again. She gave me self-worth. It turned me into a better person, because I didn't care about myself. I didn't have the self-worth because of everything that was done to me during the kidnapping. But being a mom showed me how to love my child, and then it gave me like this sense of, okay, I need to take care of myself, because I have somebody else that I have to take care of as well. So I wanted to live for her. And she just like melted my heart, and everything just started to change from there, and we're growing together. We grow and we grow up together. So she's definitely my motivation, my inspiration. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably still be mad 18 years later. I'm definitely grateful for my life and everything that came with it.
Right. So I was molested I was told not to speak up. I started to tell somebody. She was kidnapped and also abused, so now she has Stay Alive. So tell them about that.
So, Stay Alive is actually something that my dad would say to me, because as a teenager and getting stuck in all that trauma and stuff, the self-destructiveness, I almost lost my life plenty times.
I saw the picture of the car accident that you got
Yes.
into, car total.
Yeah, so that was a result of me binge drinking, because I had gotten sober for the first time at 16 to help a family of a young girl who had been missing. For those 10 days, I dedicated myself to helping that family, and I told my story over and over and over again for the first time. And I knew I had to do it to help that little girl. But unfortunately, she was found deceased, and I couldn't deal with that. Well, I just knew she was going to come home. Her family would say things like, "We can't wait for you to meet her. She's going to love you." And she ends up dead. So I was not ready for that. And started binge drinking, got into the car accident, almost died. My dad would say, "Stay alive, make the right decisions, and everything will be okay." And it started out with just a tattoo, and then it progressed to a movement. And Stay Alive isn't just for kidnapped survivors or survivors of abuse. It's whatever you want it to be, whatever Stay Alive means to you. And I want it to be just some encouragement. I even went through like suicidal thoughts. I was this close to taking my own life with a handgun. And at that moment, we feel like we just want to change so desperately. We don't know how to make it happen. But if I kill myself, these people will care, or this will change. And it's just a temporary situation that we're in, but we can't see that when we're stuck in that moment. And I'm here, I'm better, and I get to inspire other people through my story and through my clothing line. To just
show them your logo.
Yeah. So
explain it.
So this symbolize. Is it coming out clear? So the young girl there is chained up by her left leg, which was me, as I was in the kidnapper's vehicle, and that's me unlocking the chain, saving myself and saving the other children that are being abused, with the Stay Alive logo right underneath. And that means so much to me, and it speaks so many words that I can't say.
Right.
You just get this feeling looking at it. It's something that just touches your heart. And if I could say anything to anybody that's going through something, whatever it is, whether it be abuse, cancer, losing someone, just stay alive. There is sunshine after the rain. Everything might just seem so dark today, but if you just hold on a little bit longer, you will see that things will start to change, and by the grace of God, they do.
Mm-hmm. So you go to different schools and events, and what is it exactly that you educate or bring awareness to?
So we actually are doing events right now, and these events are child safety events. We do fingerprinting, we give out DNA kits. None of the fingerprinting gets kept on a database. The parent gets the only copy. They also get a DNA swab kit that you get to take home and do it yourself. And that's for you to keep in a safe place. And if you need it, God forbid you don't, but if your child does go missing, you have something to jumpstart an investigation, and you don't have to waste time gathering all of that evidence because you already have it. We do the child safety events, and we're shooting for September 2018 to get into the school districts to do child safety assemblies using animatronic puppets to make it fun for the kids, and also putting together a big sister program to mentor younger girls who want to be mentored, young girls who need it. As a young girl, I was lost, and I needed a really good mentor. A lot of us lack that, so we get lost. And hopefully, eventually, one day we'll be able to do our own searches and have search teams and search centers set up.
Tell them how many families you've helped search for their missing children.
Gosh, I want to say just under 10 since '09. And it's such a blessing to be able to meet the families. It's always heartbreaking. Of those that we have helped, one has come home alive. And, to be able to give families hope or to just show my face and my presence, that alone gives them comfort. And to just let them know, like, hey, you're not the only one in this world. We're just all broken people gathering together to comfort each other, counsel each other, and just be there to help each other. We're a small community of survivors that, have each other's back.
Yeah. Oprah had just recently did a speech, I believe it was at the Emmys, and she said that her, speech is geared towards little girls at home, just knowing that in the future, because of phenomenal women and extraordinary men, that little girls won't have to grow up and say, it happened to me too. But my vision is not just for little girls. My vision is for little girls and little boys, because it happens to girls and boys. And so we are those phenomenal women that Oprah is talking about, because you use your story, you use what happened to you, and you come out with
these
movements.
are the phenomenal boys that are coming out too, because I do get a lot of men that come to me and share their stories with me too, and that's just touching that they would even find themselves to share with me.
I've probably shared over 800 stories, and maybe only 10 have been men, so I know it's harder for men to come out, but I love and appreciate when they do. So use your story, use what happened to you. That's your power. Start movements, start organizations, go out and help others.
Definitely.
That's what life is about. So stay alive. How can my viewers contact or reach you?
So you can contact me on Instagram at _stayalive_. Midsi Sanchez is my name. You can find me on Facebook, MIDSI Sanchez, and www.midsisanchez.com.
Tell somebody and stay alive.
That's right. Hey.
Midsi's father carried her in as dozens of people celebrated her return.
It was surreal. It was unbelievable. It was miraculous. And to think a child that young was able to free herself and get away from this is just stuff that's stranger than fiction.
Midsi had her birthday party, but things would never be the same.